Before R&B had legends, and before soul had a name, there were songs that didn't just play, they changed the entire temperature of the room. The kinds of records that made people stop mid-conversation, turn their heads, and say, "Hold on, what is that?" Some were banned. Some pushed boundaries nobody dared touch, and some were so raw, so joyful, so honest, that they felt like music finally telling the truth out loud. In this countdown, we're rewinding to the exact moments where the groove got bold, where voices cracked something open, and where the future of soul quietly snapped into place. Stick around, because the deeper we go, the harder these classics hit. We are counting down from number 15 to number 1. And by the time we reach number 1, you'll hear the song that proved soul never needed to shout to change everything. Number 15, Good Rockin' Tonight, Wynonie Harris, 1948. Good Rockin' Tonight hits like the moment the party finally tips over from chatter to sweat. In 1948, Jump Blues was filling smoky rooms, but Wynonie Harris took Roy Brown's template and sharpened every edge. His booming voice rides that driving backbeat like a freight train, half revival meeting, half house party where nobody plans to go home. The band punches behind him, loose but locked, finding that pocket where Saturday night and Sunday morning crash into each other and refuse to break apart. It works because there's no holding back. The shout, the laugh, the urgency all hit at once. Listen for the gospel-style hollering laid right on top of the urgent dance groove, like a preacher who's stepped off the pulpit and onto the bar. It became a jukebox staple, a number 1 R&B hit, and one of the first real bridges between rhythm and blues and the rock and soul to come. Up next, the volume stays high, but the lyrics step even further into danger. Number 14, 60-Minute Man, The Dominoes, 1951. 60-Minute Man walks straight into the room with a grin and never apologizes. In 1951, when radio rules and social lines were still tight, Billy Ward's Dominoes slipped gospel-smooth harmonies over a lyric designed to shock. The groove is relaxed and rolling, like a stroll down the block, but lead singer Bill Brown turns it into one long brag, boasting his way through every bar. The voices sound church clean, stacked and polished, even as the words slide right past polite conversation into something much bolder. That tension, sacred-sounding harmony carrying very secular promises is exactly why it hits so hard. Listen for the way the group glides gently under Brown's playful lead, making the daring lyric feel charming instead of crude. Many stations tried to bury it, but it still spent 14 weeks at number 1 on the R&B chart, broke into the pop charts, and moved close to 1 million copies through jukeboxes and under-the-counter sales. Number 13, Crying in the Chapel, The Orioles, 1953. Crying in the Chapel feels like stepping out of a service and realizing the prayer followed you home. In 1953, vocal groups and doo-wop were carrying gospel emotion into everyday streets, and the Orioles took a song first cut by Artie Glenn, and wrapped it in the soft glow of their blended harmonies. Their voices moved together gently, like stained glass light across a floor, letting gospel's emotional pull meet a more pop-friendly, slow, doo-wop sound. It's tender, without being sugary, reverent, without needing a church roof. You can hear Sunday morning drifting into a quiet Tuesday night. Listen for the way the group arrangement seems to lift and cradle the melody, turning each line into something that could live just as easily in a pew or in a small living room. Their version turned a regional tune into a national hit and showed that spiritual themes could sit on mainstream charts without losing their sense of reverence. Up next, we leave the chapel for a record so suggestive it was banned and still burned through every neighborhood. Number 12, Work With Me, Annie, Hank Ballard and the Midnighters, 1954. Work With Me, Annie sounds like a wink you can't unhear. In 1954, teenage listeners were ready for something less polite. And Hank Ballard stepped up with a groove that was playful, flirty, and just risky enough to make parents nervous. The band locks into a tight, danceable pocket, simple but relentless. While Ballard sings about romance and intimacy with a smile you can hear between every line. The track doesn't rush, it just bounces and leans, turning every hook into an invitation to move closer. It hits because it's honest about desire, without ever losing its sense of fun. Listen for the rhythm section staying light and bouncy, while Ballard grins his way through the vocal, daring you to pretend you're not listening. Many stations banned it for being too suggestive, but it still sold over 1 million copies, topped the R&B chart, and sparked a whole run of answer records like Annie Had a Baby and Roll With Me, Henry. Up next, we leave swagger behind and step into full, open-wound emotion from a young singer on the edge of becoming the godfather of soul. Number 11, Please, 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 James Brown and the Famous Flames, 1956. In 1956, at the very start of James Brown's recording career, this debut single left almost everything hanging on his voice. The structure is simple, a repeating plea, but Brown bends, cracks, and stretches that please until it feels like he's emptying his entire chest into the microphone. The Famous Flames keep the backdrop spare and steady, giving him space to twist and fall and rise again. On stage, it turned into a ritual, collapsing to his knees, clutching the mic, turning heartbreak into something close to a spiritual ceremony. It hits because nothing is hidden. The emotion is raw, unpolished, and physical. Listen for the moments right before each chorus, when his voice tightens and you can almost hear his body straining with the effort. The record didn't explode on the charts at first, but Live It became the blueprint for James Brown's soul-shaping performance style and a template for raw soul expression. Up next, Heartbreak walks into the church and lets the organ do some of the crying. Number 10, Drown in My Own Tears, Ray Charles, 1956. Drown in My Own Tears sounds like the lights have gone down and the room has gone quiet except for one voice at the piano. Reimagined by Ray Charles in 1956 from a song first recorded by Lula Reed, it moves like a slow gospel sermon about heartbreak. His church-trained voice sits on top of piano, horns, and organ, each phrase delivered like a confession that he can't quite keep to himself. The tempo is unhurried, almost heavy, forcing every word to land and hang in the air. It hits because it feels like you're eavesdropping on a prayer he never meant to say out loud. Listen for the organ sliding in behind his phrases, soft but insistent, quietly turning each admission into something like a testimony. The single became his first #1 R&B hit and a key step toward his title as the Genius of Soul, opening the door for gospel-rooted R&B to reshape the charts. Up next, once gospel and heartbreak have joined hands, the music turns outward and asks not just for comfort, but for change. If you're feeling this journey through early R&B and soul, hit subscribe and drop a comment with the track so far that punches you right in the memory. Your pick might be the one we go deep on in a future. Number 9, A Change Is Gonna Come, Sam Cooke, 1964. A Change Is Gonna Come is the sound of tired hope that refuses to die. Recorded in late 1963 and released in 1964, right in the heart of the civil rights struggle, it carries Sam Cooke's own bruises into a slow, orchestral soul ballad. Shaken by his experiences with racism, he pours that pain and longing into a melody that moves like a river, steady, deep, and full of unseen currents. Beyond the sky, it's been a long... Lush strings and a measured rolling arrangement cradle his gospel-rooted voice, giving every line the weight of a prayer whispered through gritted teeth. It hits because it balances exhaustion and belief in the same breath. Listen for the strings swelling just before the chorus, lifting the hope even as the lyrics admit how hard the road has been. It wasn't a massive commercial smash at first, but it became one of Cooke's most enduring works and one of soul's first true social conscience anthems, a quiet soundtrack for marches and nights of reflection. Up next, we move from the promise of change to a heartbreak ballad where vulnerability stretches until it almost snaps. Number 8, I've Been Loving You Too Long, Otis Redding, 1965. To stop now. I've Been Loving You Too Long feels like someone trying to hold on to a door that's slowly closing. My love. Released in 1965 on Stax Records, just as Southern soul was finding its deep, deliberate groove, it shows Otis Redding building emotion in careful layers. He starts almost under his breath, sounding unsure, then gradually cranks up the intensity until his voice is a full-on cry. The horns, rhythm section, and vocal all rise together, like a storm building from a distant cloud to thunder overhead. The dynamic build, soft to explosive, controlled to desperate, is a defining move of deep Southern soul, and Otis rides it perfectly. Listen for how the pocket tightens just before each verse, holding you in place while the tension climbs. Its success on both R&B and pop charts proved that unfiltered vulnerability could cross boundaries and cemented Redding as a central voice in soul history. My love is growing. Up next, after such a plea, a single word turns into a demand, and a demand turns into a movement.
I've been loving you.
Number 7, Respect, Aretha Franklin, 1967. Respect is not a request, it's a declaration with a band behind it. In 1967, during a wave of civil rights marches and shifting roles for women, Aretha Franklin took Otis Redding's song and flipped the entire meaning. What had been a man's demand became a woman's line in the sand, and she drew it with gospel-trained vocals that cut through the mix like a spotlight. The rhythm section stays tight and driving, the horns punctuate every phrase, and then there's that legendary RESPECT breakdown that spells power beat by beat. It hits because it doesn't just talk about dignity, it sounds like it.
Guess what?
Listen for the moment when the backing vocals lock in behind her. Suddenly, it's not just Aretha singing, it's a whole movement answering back. The record hit number 1 on both the R&B and pop charts, showing that soul could dominate mainstream culture while carrying messages of pride, empowerment, and civil rights. Up next, from Respect Demanded, we drift into whispers, rumors, and heartbreak, traveling down the Motown grapevine. Still rolling with us? Drop a comment and tell us which song on this list deserves way more love today. And if you haven't already, tap subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive here at R&B Grove. Number 6, I Heard It Through the Grapevine, Gladys Knight and the Pips, 1967. I Heard It Through the Grapevine sounds like bad news you knew was coming, but still hoped to outrun. First cut by Gladys Knight and the Pips in 1967, it moves with urgent, gospel-fired energy. The tempo is brisk, the groove is insistent, and Gladys sings like someone who has been blindsided and is trying to keep her composure. A year later, Marvin Gaye slows the song down into a haunted, simmering version, but both takes live inside the same storm of doubt and betrayal. Together they show how one song can stretch from church-like intensity to cool, brooding sophistication. It hits because every version feels like an argument between what you've heard and what you want to believe. Listen for that bass line walking under each verse like a rumor going block to block, steady and unstoppable. Knight's version reached number 2 on the pop chart, while Gaye's topped both R&B and pop and became Motown's best-selling single at the time, cementing the label as a powerhouse. Up next, from whispered rumors, we turn to a standard reborn as a full-blown soul explosion. Number 5, Try a Little Tenderness, Otis Redding, 1966. Try a Little Tenderness starts as a suggestion and ends as a shout from the mountaintop.
But wow, she's there waiting.
Originally written in 1932 and sung as a smooth pop ballad by crooners like Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra, it gets completely reborn when Otis Redding tackles it in 1966.
Anticipating.
Backed by the Stax house band, he opens gently, almost like the old versions, but you can feel the tension building underneath.
Oh, she's waiting. Just
slowly, the tempo and intensity rise, the horns get more insistent, and Otis moves from gentle coaching to fiery, gospel-driven release.
Now it might be.
By the end, whatever restraint was there has burned off, leaving nothing but pure soul energy.
But she has her greed.
It hits because it shows tenderness not as something soft and fragile, but as something fierce and necessary.
Oh, no.
Listen for the horns arriving like a verdict, framing the exact moment when the song shifts from calm advice to emotional eruption.
But it's all so easy.
His take became one of the most celebrated soul ballads of all time, a masterclass in dynamic control and reinvention.
Yes, yeah.
Up next, after tenderness explodes, rhythm itself steps up to rewrite the rules. Number 4, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, James Brown, 1965. Papa's Got a Brand New Bag is what happens when rhythm decides it wants the spotlight. Released in 1965, right at the brink of funk's birth, it takes a stripped-down 12-bar structure and flips the focus from big melodies to the tight snap of the groove. Horn stabs, sharp guitar chords, and James Brown's syncopated percussive vocal style all work together like pieces of a drum kit. The song doesn't float, it stomps. It hits because it makes your body move before your brain even catches the lyrics. This is motion first, message second, and that shift changes everything. Listen for how the drums drop into the pocket and simply refuse to budge. Everything else dances around that beat. The single hit number 1 on the R&B chart and climbed into the pop top 10, marking the birth of funk and reshaping what soul could sound like going forward. Up next, once the groove is that serious, the music turns back to the world and asks, "What's happening out there?" Number 3, What's Going On? Marvin Gaye, 1971.
We don't need to.
What's Going On feels like a friend sitting you down and asking the hardest questions in the gentlest way. Released in 1971, when Motown was still mostly known for love songs and dance floor hits, Marvin Gaye stepped away from the usual formula. Instead of chasing another party track, he sings about war, poverty, and injustice with a tenderness that makes every line sink in. Soft percussion, layered strings, and multi-tracked vocals create a smooth, hazy atmosphere, like smoke curling in a small room where serious conversations are happening.
Don't punish me with brutality.
It hits because it doesn't lecture. It wonders, worries, and reaches out. Listen for the overlapping voices and the swell of the strings, turning the song into a flowing dialogue instead of a straight monologue. Beyond its chart-topping success, it expanded what soul could carry: political weight, spiritual searching, and personal grief all in one groove, and it reshaped Gaye's entire career. Up next, from hard questions and weary hope, we move to a song that offers uplift and a promise of somewhere better. Number 2, I'll Take You There, The Staple Singers, 1972.
Help me.
There is a groove that feels like a hand reaching back to pull you forward.
Help me now. Yeah.
Released in 1972, as gospel-rooted soul was thriving on both R&B and pop radio, the Staple Singers built this track on a simple, irresistible bass line. The arrangement stays raw and grounded, less about fancy orchestration and more about a band and a family locked into one pulse.
Let me take you there.
Call and response vocals echo their gospel roots, while Mavis Staples' deep, commanding voice leads with authority that somehow still feels like an embrace. It hits because it offers hope without ignoring struggle, promising a better place without pretending the road is easy. Listen for the moment before the chorus, when the rhythm section locks in tight and the space opens up for the voices to testify.
What you doing? Something. Oh.
The song topped both the R&B and pop charts, proving soul could carry messages of uplift and spiritual promise without losing its dance floor pull. Up next, from Gospel Fire and A Promised Destination, we arrive at number 1, a quiet revolution wrapped in silk and restraint. Number 1, Let's Stay Together, Al Green, 1972.
Me feel so brand new.
Let's Stay Together is a vow set to a groove.
Want to spend my life with
Released in late 1971 and rising to number 1 on both the R&B and pop charts in early 1972, it doesn't shout for your attention, it invites you closer.
since we've been together.
Produced by Willie Mitchell at High Records in Memphis, the track blends soft strings, gentle horns, and a steady, unhurried rhythm that feels like a heartbeat at rest. Al Green's light falsetto floats over it all, relaxed but precise, never forcing, never pushing, just trusting the song to carry itself. Where 1960s soul often leaned on gritty shouts and big brassy arrangements, this record uses restraint, space, and intimacy as its main weapons. Listen for how the strings breathe with his vocal, never crowding him, always framing him like silk laid carefully over stone. Its success set the template for 1970s R&B, showing that soul didn't need to yell to change everything, a quiet revolution that still sounds fresh decades later. From jump blues, shouts, to whispered promises, this journey shows how R&B and soul learned every way a heart can speak.
Would you, baby?